Oh my god! Okay, so that was a funny little video I made earlier this week, just for a bit of a giggle, really. Thought it kind of works with this episode. So, episode 4. Now, obviously, last week was a very controversial episode. When I sometimes I put up little things in groups about the videos I'm doing, and when I put the video up about episode 3, there was a lot of comments. Some of them not so nice, some of them were nice. I tend to ignore things like that. The comments weren't bad at me, it was more about what happened in the episode. People sort of have issue with things that happened in that episode. So anyway, on to episode 4. And what do we think about episode 4? A very good episode. Again, this show is good. It's just a good TV show. I'm so happy they've done it the way they've done it. This episode was a lot shorter than the previous episodes, I think. This was like a 40 or so minute episode, and most were like 50 odd minutes. Again, very enjoyable. So let's get into it. So it starts off, we've got Ellie and Joel again. We've gone back to them two. They're driving along, sort of trying to get to Tommy again. Still trying to get to Tommy, because he's the link to the Fireflies they need. Also, Joel wants to know what's going on with him, because Joel thinks he hasn't heard from him for a while, so he thinks something might be up with Tommy. So there's obviously some issue going on there. Now, we don't have a flashback again. And I was enjoying that. The first 2 episodes, those little flashbacks in sort of the world before and as it changed. I liked that. We haven't had one for 2 episodes now, so I think that's a trend that obviously disappeared, which is a bit of a shame. So anyway, we see Ellie's still got the gun that she had from the previous episode, where she obviously stole from Frank's and Bill's house. And she's doing a typical kid thing, like pretending she's got the gun, and she's like playing around with it, cocking it, loading it, and stuff like that. Obviously, Joe told her not to have a gun, but she's got one anyway. So she puts it in her bag, she disappears off, and then we see Joel siphoning petrol out of a car. And this is where Ellie pulls out the joke book. Now, if you played the game, the joke book is in the game. It's a nice little reference, and it helps us see Joel easing into Ellie, because obviously we're not quite there with the whole father-daughter kind of relationship yet, but it's easing into it, where Joel's barriers are coming down, and it seems that every time Ellie tells a joke in this, you see the barriers drop a bit more. So he's kind of letting her in a bit more. So they get back in the car on the way down the road, and then you get this a sort of situation that I've been in many times. I mean, I am parenting 6 children, and it does come up where basically in this episode, so as they're in the car, Ellie finds the gay porn mag. And I've been in the situation where your kids ask you a question or mention something that makes you feel very uncomfortable, and the second she pulls that out, Joel is instantly uncomfortable. And I know exactly that situation. I've been there before, when the kid says, "What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this do? I've just heard this. What's that mean?" And you just feel so uncomfortable, and you're trying to work. Your brain can't go quick enough to try and work out what you can explain or how you can explain something. And of course, Ellie's winding him up though, because she knows exactly what it is and exactly what's going on with the magazine. And then she throws it out of the car. But it's a real sort of like dad moment, when you're sort of like, you don't know what to say when they say things like that. Or if they find something, they ask you what it is or what does it mean. If they've heard it on the internet, or they've heard it on the telly, or their friend at school has said something. So it was a proper father sort of moment. I quite like that. So then they decide to camp out for a night. And Joel sort of says to Ellie, like, "We can't have a fire." And she's like, "What? Because like the infected will see it." He's like, "No, it's people." And she's like, "Oh, well, we'll just get robbed." And he says to her, "No, it's not just that you have to worry. It's not just getting robbed that's the worst. They'll do other things too." And obviously this is a very dark thing that is going to come up later on in the show for sure, about like the danger of people. It's a very thing where it's like it's not what you think the worst thing is obviously the infected, but it's not them that are the bad, it's the other people in the world that are actually worse than the infected. So obviously now we sort of get little teasers into that, which I quite like. yeah, so then they're sort of off on the move again the next day after Ellie decides she doesn't like coffee. And we get a little bit of sort of a semi sort of Tommy backstory. So obviously Joel describes Tommy as a joiner. He's someone who sort of what instantly wants to help people, so likes to join up with causes. He tried the military but didn't like where the military took him. So he's kind of like trying to get these causes and stuff on the, trying to sort of finds people he wants to help people. Tommy's a person who wants to help and will find any way he can. Joel sort of tagged along with Tommy just to sort of look out for him. But Tommy is definitely a person who wants to help, and he sort of end up joining the Fireflies, and again that's their link to sort of finding where to take Ellie. So now we've got them driving back through town, and then you get the guy. So as they're trying to get, first of all, Joel's trying to go through this like underpass thing, can't get through because someone's blocked it off. So they decide to drive through town, and they first, so Ellie notices that the Federal, it's kind of like the governing body, isn't in the town, and she's kind of notices this, and she's all sort of like, where are they? So as they're driving through the town, suddenly you get the guy come out in pain, in hunched over. Oh my god, I need help! Someone help me! And second, Joel seems like he ain't hurt, and he just goes straight at him because Joel, as we find out later, has done this trick. It's basically you pretend you're hurt, you go to help them, and they mug you or take something from you. So Joel then sort of goes mission off. Someone drops a big sort of concrete block onto the car. The car sort of swerves, goes over what they call a stinger, which is like spikes in the road to burst the tyres. And Joel ended up crashing through like a laundrette. There's a bit of a gunfight that goes on for a bit. Joel kills two of them, and then a third one sort of sneaks up behind Joel. What Joel has done before this happened, is he sent Ellie through his little hole because he doesn't want us to sort of see what's going on. So he kills the first two. The third bloke comes out from nowhere as Joel's gun jams, and they have a bit of a fist sort of scuffle. The guy's got Joel pinned down. He's choking him out with a gun, like the rifle. He's sort of holding over his neck. He's choking Joel out. Joel's then like in trouble. He's going to die, and then we see Ellie comes out with her little gun and shoots the bloke. And the guy's sort of still alive. He's sort of on the floor begging Ellie to stop. Like Joel then gets up, sort of takes the gun straight off of Ellie because like doing what he does. And then he says to like Ellie, like, you need to go back into that hole now. So he sends her back into the hole, and then you can hear sort of Joel finishes the guy off. And it's very much to me like Joel wants to keep Ellie's innocence. That's the only way I can describe it. He wants to keep her innocence, like the stuff with the magazines and the way he sort of looks out for her. He doesn't want her killing people. He didn't want her to have a gun. It's his way of trying to keep her childlike innocence, which, to us, in the world they live in, has gone. That's why Ellie is as tough as she is, because she's been raised in that world and there is no more childhood innocence. But Joel is doing everything he can to try and keep that for her, to keep her away from the darkness. So then we sort of see Joel and E, they're going to try and find a higher ground sort of thing. They're going to sort of disappear off and try and get away from everyone. And then we see the newer characters. Now these characters weren't in the game. They're sort of ones they've added for this, and it's Kathleen. And I first saw her and I was like, I know you, and it was sort of triggering over my head. And I remember there was a film, I don't know, I want to say early 2000s, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, called Detroit Rock City, which is like an American Pie style film, but with a group of kids that are going to a Kiss concert and their tickets get burnt up. And she's in that. She's kind of like a love interest in that. And also I think she's in Castle Rock as well. I watched a couple of episodes of that. I couldn't really get into it, but I think she was in that. But she always, whenever I've seen this actress in things, she plays this like cute, quiet, shy type girls. And in this, she's very opposite. She's still doing it in the same way, where she's very quiet voiced, very calm, but she's got evil intent. And I like the way they twisted it. So it's kind of a calm, nice woman, but with evil intent. So she's got this guy held captive who finds a doctor. And she's basically, from what I can gather has happened, is Fedra, the governing sort of body, were in the town, and they've obviously got people to talk about certain things, which ended up getting her brother killed. And she's blaming a guy called Henry, and she's definitely after this guy called Henry, who obviously spoke to Federer, and there was the reason her brother died. So now she's gunning for him. And the guy she's holding hostage is a doctor, and she goes to like point a gun to him. She basically kind of says that you won't kill me because I'm the doctor. She then gets a call outside, so she goes outside to find out that these people have been killed by Joel. and she sort of instantly tries to twist it around so it's this Henry's in. She's somehow convinces everyone that Henry's had something to do with it. Like he's called people in, this Henry character, and it's kind of she kind of manipulates it to. It's like she's manipulating everyone to get her own way. She obviously wants to kill this Henry. She's trying to make people believe that this guy's the worst of the worst. And then she sends everyone out to go hunt down this Henry and ask everyone, find out who he is, and kill anyone who's kind of like not helping him out. She then goes back into the cell and shoots the doctor, which is probably the stupidest thing you can do in a post-apocalyptic world because you kind of need your doctors, but she kills him anyway. So, where were we up to? I've written a few notes now. I'm trying to remember where it was. So we go back to Ellie and Joel again, and Joel's then obviously sits down with Ellie. Says like, if you're gonna have the gun, I might as well show you how to use it properly because obviously they can use these like Federer sort of like classes, and Ellie's been taught to hold a gun, but she's doing it completely wrong. So Joel sort of like adjusts her hand movement and something to do with her thumb and thumb, so he can hold the gun stronger, which is really good. And you kind of get this moment where Joel's again blaming himself. He kind of takes it all on himself that Ellie had to shoot the guy because it's sort of like she shouldn't have to go through this. And again, it's Joel trying to keep Ellie's innocence and stuff, trying to stop her from maybe becoming like him. So and Tess used to be, you know. So that's again, it's a very sort of like parental role. Like you don't want the kid, he doesn't want this girl to end up the way he was. He wants her to be better. But then Ellie sort of drops a bombshell that she's done something like this before, like she's shot someone before, and Joel's kind of like taken a bit back by this. So then we go back to the Kathleen on her search for Henry, and one of the sort of henchmen, who I've found out through various social media that he's the guy that voices Tommy in the game. But anyway, this henchman guy, he says like, I found something, I'll come have a look. They go up in some sort of attic bit and they find sort of evidence that this Henry's been there, like food and stuff. But there's also drawings on the wall of superheroes. And it was at this point when I remembered who these characters were from the game, and I completely forgot them. Like I played that game a couple of times. I completely forgot these characters, but they are quite important characters as well. So as soon as I saw the superheroes, I was like, I remember, and then I was like, okay, I'm back with it now. So yeah. Then the guy says, look, there's something else here, you need to come with me. So they go down into the basement, and it's like they go into this room, and there's like a patch of floor which is all cracked up and sort of dropped down, and she's like a bit shocked by this. So they've seen this before. These people, Kathleen and the other one, have seen this before by the looks of it, because they're like, should we tell people? With that, you see the floor sort of pulsate and move, and I was like, that's a bit freaky. And I don't remember that in the game at all. But I'm guessing something's going to come out through that floor. Something's going to emerge from there and cause havoc. Because they instantly shut the door and they sort of jump back with the guns. And he says to her, should we tell people? They're like, she's like, no, let's just keep the job at hand. We'll cordon the area off and we'll come back to this later. And he looks a bit like, no, we shouldn't. But again, she's got this tunnel vision to this Henry guy. So then we go back to Ellie and Joel. They're sort of trying to find a place to set up bed for the night. And they sort of like find a nice little sort of area, and they put a load of mattresses with like cushions down, sort of lay on them to sleep. Joel sort of smashed up some glass so he can hear if anyone tries to approach in the night, which I thought was a very clever idea. Didn't work very well, but it's still a very clever idea. And he kind of asked Joel about his dark past, and he explains that they sort of did dodgy things. And then she says to him, did you kill innocent people? And he just does not answer the question. So we all know if he doesn't answer the question, the answer's true, he has. And Tess mentioned earlier in that sort of the second episode, just before she dies, put it right, Joel, put everything we've done right. So they've obviously together done some real dark stuff. And this is sort of a redemption sort of thing. I think that's what Tess said to her, you need to do is to put this right. So it's kind of like Tess is like last dying, which was redemption for herself and him. So they sort of lay down on the bed, the little beds they made, and then Ellie tells another joke, and we see Joel laugh, and Joel laughs quite a bit. And I thought to myself when I watched this, how long has it been since this man has actually laughed, like proper laughed? And I'm guessing it's been years and years since this man has laughed. I mean, you see him, your smile crack on his face every so often, but like he proper laughs at this, and you think like it's such a good thing, probably for him and her, because this is their relationship. It's the walls are coming down, like Joel's barriers that he's built up to sort of not care anymore, to hate the world, sort of thing. They're coming down in kind of the same way. If we reflect to Bill in the previous episode with Frank, of how he had these walls up, like, and they came down, and that gave him this joyous thing. And I think Joel's starting to get that now, which I think is really good. So them two go to sleep, and then you see Joel sort of laying there asleep, and then suddenly he gets woken up by Ellie saying, like, saying Joel, Joel, like that. Wakes up, and Ellie's got a gun pointed to her head by a guy standing there. And then Joel turns, and there is a kid with like a superhero mask painted on his face with a gun to his head, and that's where the episode ends. And I was like, don't end there, but they did. So obviously this little part of the story is going to go over the 2 episodes. And of course, if you watch to the end of the credits, they give you like a little bit of what's going to happen. A lot more Kathleen stuff and a lot more tense. It's going to get a lot of tense this next episode. I guess this is because I said in the last review I did that I thought this episode was going to be really action-packed. The next one I think is going to be the mega action-packed episode. And at the end of that little trailer we saw, a bloater appears. So this is where it's going to get epic. This is going to get insane. And it's obviously how they're going to get out, and where these 2 characters that we've just met, sort of where the story's going to go with these 2. Again, a fantastic episode. A shorter episode than the previous episodes, but still very good. And I'm really looking forward to next week now. I hate cliffhangers, and we kind of ended on a cliffhanger there. I don't know what more they could do with this show to make it even better, because I'm enjoying every episode. But yeah, I will not like, last week's was a bit slow. It was a bit slow, and it was a bit long for me. It felt a bit longer than it probably was. But it was good to see that. Well, I think the whole point of that episode, a lot of people thought, what was the point of the episode? A lot of people, the comments I've seen was, what was the point of that episode? To me, the point of that episode was just to show the idea of relationship in that world and how important that is. It might not have needed to be as long as that. It might not need to be as detailed as it was, but it kind of needed it as a sort of anchor point for what Joel should become. And Bill and Joel were very similar, and how Bill actually found happiness in this crappy little world. He managed to find happiness through Frank, and we've got here Joel doing the same thing. And that whole point of that whole episode was that last bit about how we have to protect them, and that's the point. That message is kind of like the with great power comes great responsibility of Spider-Man. That sort of is the key point, that Joel has to protect. He's the protector, and he's now had to protect basically the world by protecting Ellie because of what she's got and what she could potentially be. So yeah, great episode, and I'm really looking forward to next week. Again, I've heard a rumour that it might be on earlier though. Someone put up a post saying it might be on Friday instead of what we get on Monday, but yeah, it might be on Friday, so we'll probably get Saturday in the UK, which is a bit strange. I thought it was very strange, but I don't know why. But that was I've only seen one post, so I don't know for sure. But anyway, fingers crossed for another good episode next week. I'm sure it will be, and I'll be back again next week for another review. Thoroughly enjoy it. Have a good time. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, then watch some of the other videos and that. You might see something else you like. Again, I'm quite not really good at public speaking, but I do my best. And looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.